What would you do if you had everything money could buy, but your heart felt empty as a broken cup? Before we begin this story, please hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe so you never miss our stories. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We absolutely love hearing from you. Marcus Thornton stood at his office window, looking down at the city below. From up here, the people looked like tiny ants, rushing here and there. He owned 3 banks, 5 hotels, and more money than he could count in a lifetime. His suit cost more than most people earned in a month. His shoes were made in Italy. His watch could buy a house. But when he looked at his reflection in the glass, he saw a man with tired eyes and a frown that never went away. His mansion sat on top of a hill, like a crown made of white marble and gold. It had 40 rooms, crystal lights that sparkle like stars, and floors so shiny you could see your face in them. Paintings worth millions hung on the walls. Statues from faraway countries stood in the hallways. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. Everything was cold. In one of those 40 rooms, Elena Thornton sat in her wheelchair by the window. She was Marcus's wife, and once upon a time, she had danced at parties and laughed until her sides hurt. But 3 years ago, a terrible car accident had stolen the strength from her legs. Now she could not walk. Now she could not run. Now she spent her days looking out the window at a garden she could not reach. Marcus had hired doctors, the best in the world. He had bought special beds, expensive medicines, and every machine that promised to help. But he had not given Elena the one thing that cost nothing at all. He had not given her his time. He had not given her his attention. He had not given her his love. Every morning, Marcus left before the sun came up. Every night, he returned after the moon was high in the sky. He ate his meals in his office. He slept in a different room. When he passed Elena in the hallway, he would nod and ask, "Do you need anything?" But he never stopped long enough to hear her answer. Elena's nurse was a stern woman named Mrs. Blackwell, who did her job, but nothing more. She brought meals on time, gave medicine on schedule, and helped Elena dress. But her hands were rough, her voice was flat, and her eyes looked at Elena like she was just another task to finish before going home. When Elena cried at night, Mrs. Blackwell would close the door and pretend not to hear. The other servants in the mansion walked on silent feet and spoke in whispers. They dusted the paintings, polished the floors, and made sure everything sparkled. But they never looked at Elena for long. It was as if her sadness might spread like a cold if they got too close. The mansion was full of people. But Elena felt more alone than if she had been on a desert island. One Tuesday morning, Mrs. Blackwell announced she was leaving. Her sister in another city needed her, she said. Marcus barely looked up from his phone when he heard the news. He told his assistant to find a replacement immediately. By that afternoon, a new person arrived at the mansion's grand front door. Her name was Maya Santos, and she carried only a small brown bag with her few belongings. She wore a simple dress that had been washed so many times the color had faded. Her shoes were old but clean. But her eyes were different. They were warm like sunshine breaking through clouds. They were kind like a mother's hug. They were alive in a way that made you feel safe just looking at them. The head butler, Mr. Graves, showed Maya through the mansion with his nose in the air. He pointed at the expensive vases and warned her not to touch them. He showed her the kitchen with its marble counters and said she must keep everything spotless. He walked so fast that Maya almost had to run to keep up. Finally, they reached Elena's room. Mr. Graves knocked once and pushed the door open without waiting for an answer. Elena sat by the window as always, her thin hands folded in her lap. She did not turn around. She had learned that it did not matter who came through the door. No one really cared. "This is Mrs. Thornton," Mr. Graves said in a voice that sounded bored. "You will help her dress, bring her meals, give her medicine, and make sure she is clean. She cannot walk, so you must push her wheelchair. Do not bother her with unnecessary conversation. Mr. Thornton values quiet and order in his home." Then Mr. Graves left, his footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. Maya stood in the doorway, her bag still in her hand. She looked at Elena's back, at the way her shoulders curved forward like a flower dying without water. She looked at the wheelchair, at the untouched breakfast on the table, at the window where Elena stared at the world she could not touch. Maya set down her bag. She walked slowly across the room, her old shoes making soft sounds on the floor. She did not speak at first. She simply came to stand beside Elena, looking out at the same garden, seeing the same roses and the same fountain. "The red roses are beautiful today," Maya said quietly. Her voice was gentle, like rain on leaves. "I wonder they smell as sweet as they look." Elena's breath caught in her throat. She had not expected kindness. She had not expected anyone to stand beside her instead of behind her. She had not expected anyone to wonder about roses. Slowly, Elena turned her head. She saw Maya's warm eyes, her soft smile, her hands that looked like they knew how to work hard, but also how to comfort. For the first time in months, Elena felt a small crack in the ice that had frozen around her heart. "I don't know," Elena whispered, and her voice came out rough from crying alone for so long. "I haven't been close to them in 3 years." Maya looked at the wheelchair, then at the door, then back at Elena. Without asking permission, without checking rules, she moved behind the wheelchair and released the brakes. "Then let's go find out," Maya said. Elena's eyes went wide. "But," Mr. Graves said, "the schedule can wait 5 minutes," Maya answered with a smile that made her whole face light up. "Roses won't." And with that, Maya pushed the wheelchair toward the door, down the long hallway, past the expensive paintings and the golden statues, toward a garden that Elena had only been able to see through glass. Elena gripped the armrests, her heart beating fast. Not from fear, but from something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Behind them, Marcus stood in the shadow of a doorway. He had come home early for once to pick up papers he had forgotten. He watched the maid, this new person he had never met, push his wife's wheelchair with such care that it looked like she was carrying something precious. He watched Elena's face, and he saw something there that made him stop breathing. His wife was smiling. Marcus stood frozen in that shadowy doorway, his expensive leather briefcase hanging from his hand. He watched Maya wheel Elena through the French doors and into the garden. The afternoon sun painted everything gold. He saw Maya bend down and pick a red rose, careful to avoid the thorns. She held it to Elena's nose, and his wife closed her eyes and breathed in deeply. Then Elena laughed. It was a small laugh, quiet as a whisper, but it was real. Marcus felt something twist inside his chest. When was the last time he had heard that sound? When was the last time he had made his wife smile? He could not remember. The realization hit him like cold water. He had given Elena everything except himself. He turned and walked away quickly, his footsteps loud on the marble floors. But that image followed him. It followed him to his office. It followed him through his meetings. It followed him when he tried to read his papers. That night, he could not sleep. He kept seeing Maya's gentle hands and Elena's smile. He kept hearing that laugh. The next morning, Marcus did something he had not done in 2 years. Instead of leaving before sunrise, he walked to the dining room for breakfast. Elena was already there, and Maya was setting a plate of fruit in front of her. They were talking quietly, and Elena was telling Maya about a book she had read when she was young. When Marcus entered, both women looked up in surprise. Elena's smile faded a little, as if she was remembering that her husband was a stranger now. Maya nodded politely and stepped back, giving them space. "Good morning," Marcus said, and his voice sounded awkward even to himself. "Good morning," Elena replied, her voice careful and quiet. They ate in silence. Marcus wanted to say something, but words stuck in his throat like stones. What could he say after years of absence? How could he cross the distance he had created? Finally, he finished his coffee and left for work, feeling more foolish than he had in his entire life. But that night, he came home earlier, and the night after that, and the night after that. Each time, he found reasons to walk past Elena's room. Each time, he saw Maya there, and each time, he saw something that made his heart hurt in a strange way. He saw Maya brushing Elena's hair slowly, gently, while telling her stories about growing up in a small village where everyone knew everyone. He saw Maya reading to Elena from books, doing different voices for different characters until Elena giggled like a child. He saw Maya massaging Elena's weak legs, speaking encouragement even though the doctor said Elena would never walk again. He saw Maya sitting beside Elena's wheelchair in the garden, both of them quiet, just being together as the sun set behind the trees. Maya never rushed. She never checked her watch. She never acted like caring for Elena was a burden or a job. She acted like Elena was someone worth knowing, worth listening to, worth loving. And slowly, day by day, Elena began to change. Color returned to Elena's pale cheeks. Her eyes, which had been dull and empty, started to shine again. She began to ask for certain meals instead of barely eating what was put in front of her. She asked Maya to take her to different parts of the garden. She even asked for her old painting supplies, which had been stored away since the accident. Marcus watched all of this in the shadows, and shame grew inside him like a dark seed. Here was this woman, this maid who owned almost nothing, giving his wife something that all his money could not buy. Maya gave Elena dignity. She gave her attention. She gave her kindness without counting the cost. One evening, Marcus was walking past the library when he heard crying. He stopped and looked through the partially open door. Elena sat in her wheelchair near the fireplace, and tears ran down her face. Maya knelt beside her, holding both of Elena's hands. "I'm so tired of being broken," Elena sobbed. "I'm tired of being half a person. I'm tired of being a burden." "You are not broken," Maya said firmly, and her voice carried a strength that Marcus had never heard from anyone. A broken bowl can still hold water. A bent tree can still give shade. You are not less because your legs don't work. You are still Elena. You are still here. You are still valuable. "But my husband doesn't even look at me anymore." Elena cried harder. "He can't stand to be near me. I disgust him." Marcus felt those words stab into his heart like knives. Is that what Elena thought? Is that what he had made her believe? "Maybe he is afraid," Maya said softly. "Sometimes people run away from pain because they don't know how to face it. Sometimes people hide because they feel guilty and don't know how to say sorry." "Sorry for what?" Elena asked, confused. "For not being there. For not knowing what to do. For feeling helpless when the person they love is hurting." Maya squeezed Elena's hands. "Men like Mr. Thornton are used to fixing everything with money. But you can't buy healing. You can't purchase love. And when they realize that, they feel useless. So they run to the place where they do feel powerful. Their offices, their work, their meetings. It's not right. It's not fair to you. But it might not be hate. It might just be fear." Marcus backed away from the door, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might break through his chest. Every word Maya spoke was true. He had been running. He had been hiding. He had been a coward wrapped in expensive suits, pretending that providing money was the same as providing love. That night, Marcus could not eat dinner. He sat in his office with the lights off, thinking about the man he had become. He thought about the young man who had once courted Elena with flowers and poems. He thought about their wedding day, how he had promised to love her in sickness and in health. He thought about the accident, how he had sat by her hospital bed for 3 days straight, holding her hand, praying she would survive. She had survived. But then the doctor said she might never walk again, and something inside Marcus had broken. He had not known how to handle it. He had not known how to be strong for both of them. So he had run away into his work, telling himself that earning more money and paying for more doctors was how he showed love. But it was a lie. It was a comfortable lie that let him avoid the pain. The next morning, Marcus did something that shocked everyone in the mansion. He canceled all his meetings. He told his assistant he would not be coming to the office. Instead, he walked to Elena's room and knocked softly on the door. Maya opened it, surprise clear on her face. "Mr. Thornton?" "I'd like to spend the day with my wife," Marcus said quietly. If she'll let me." Maya looked back at Elena, who sat by the window looking confused and uncertain. Maya smiled gently and nodded. "I think that would be wonderful. I'll give you both some privacy." As Maya left, Marcus stepped into the room. It felt strange, like entering a country he used to know, but had forgotten the language of. He walked slowly to where Elena sat and pulled a chair close to her wheelchair. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. "Elena," Marcus began, and his voice cracked. "I've been a terrible husband. I've been cold. I've been absent. I've been a coward." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "Marcus, please let me finish," he said, and now tears were running down his own face too. This man who commanded boardrooms and made powerful people nervous was crying like a child. "When the accident happened, I felt so helpless. I couldn't fix it. I couldn't make it better. And I'm not used to failing. So I ran away. I threw money at the problem and pretended that was enough. But I left you alone. I left you hurting. I left you thinking I didn't love you anymore." He reached out and took her hand. It felt small and cold in his. "But watching Maya with you these past weeks has shown me what I should have been doing all along. She showed me that love isn't about buying things. It's about being there. It's about listening. It's about caring even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." He looked into Elena's eyes. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway, and I'm asking for a chance to start over, to be the husband I promised to be." Elena sobbed and reached for him. Marcus moved from the chair and knelt beside her wheelchair, wrapping his arms around her. They held each other and cried, releasing years of pain and loneliness and fear. Outside the door, Maya stood listening, her own tears falling silently. She smiled through them, knowing that something beautiful was being born. The mansion began to change. It was slow at first, like ice melting when spring arrives, but everyone could feel it. The servants noticed that Mr. Thornton smiled now when he walked through the halls. The cook heard laughter coming from the dining room during meals. Even stern Mr. Graves admitted that the house felt different, though he would never say it felt warmer. Marcus kept his promise. Every morning, he woke up early and went to Elena's room. At first, he was clumsy and unsure. He did not know how to brush hair properly, and he made Elena wince when he was too rough. He spilled soup when trying to feed her. He pushed the wheelchair too fast and had to learn to slow down. But Elena was patient with him, and Maya was always there to teach him gently. "Like this," Maya would say, showing him how to support Elena's arm when helping her dress. Gentle but firm. Let her know you're there. Marcus learned. Day by day, he became better. More than that, he became present. He stopped checking his phone during meals. He stopped thinking about meetings when he was with Elena. He learned to really listen when she spoke, not just wait for his turn to talk. In the afternoons, Marcus would read to Elena or push her wheelchair through the garden. They talked about everything. Memories from when they first met, dreams they had forgotten, fears they had never shared. They laughed about silly things. They cried about hard things. They were learning how to be married again, but this time with honesty and openness. One day, Marcus asked Maya to teach him how to massage Elena's legs the way she did. Maya showed him the gentle movements, the pressure points, the encouraging words to speak. That evening, Marcus did it himself for the first time. His hands were awkward and uncertain, but Elena closed her eyes and smiled. "Thank you," she whispered. "Not just for this, for coming back to me." Marcus kissed her forehead. "I never want to leave again." But something else was changing in Marcus, too. Watching Maya had opened his eyes to more than just his failures as a husband. He began to see the world differently. Maya had almost nothing. She sent most of her small salary back to her sick mother in her village. Yet she was rich in the ways that mattered. She was kind. She was generous. She noticed when the gardener was sad and would bring him tea. She helped the cook even though it was not her job. She treated everyone with respect, from Mr. Thornton to the youngest servant. One evening, Marcus called Maya to his office. She came nervously, wondering if she had done something wrong. But Marcus smiled and gestured for her to sit. "Maya, you've given my wife her life back," he said. "You've given me a second chance at my marriage. I want to do something for you. Name anything. A new house for your mother, money for her medical care, whatever you need." Maya shook her head gently. "Mr. Thornton, I don't need anything. Seeing Mrs. Elena smile is enough payment for me. But your mother is sick. You've told Elena about her illness. Let me help." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "You're very kind. If you truly want to help, then yes. My mother needs an operation she cannot afford. But I'll pay you back, every cent." Marcus felt his throat tighten. Here was a woman who had given everything to his family, and she still wanted to pay him back. "You'll do no such thing. Consider it done. Your mother will have the best doctors, the best hospital, everything she needs." But as Maya left his office with tears of gratitude streaming down her face, Marcus sat thinking. One sick mother helped. But what about all the other mothers? What about all the other people suffering while he sat in his mansion, counting money he could never spend? That night, he talked to Elena about it. They sat together in the library, the fireplace crackling softly, and Marcus shared something he had never told anyone. "When I was building my fortune, I told myself it was so I could help people someday. But I never did. I just kept wanting more. More money, more power, more success. Maya helped one person, you, and it changed everything. What if I actually use what I have to help people?" Elena squeezed his hand. "Then do it. Let's do it together." And so they did. Marcus started slowly. He visited the city hospital and saw patients who could not afford treatment. He paid for 20 surgeries that week. He visited homeless shelters and saw families sleeping on thin mats. He bought a building and turned it into a proper shelter with beds and hot meals. He visited schools in poor neighborhoods and saw children learning in classrooms with broken desks and old books. He paid to renovate 5 schools and fill them with new supplies. But more than just writing checks, Marcus did something that surprised everyone. He visited these places himself. He talked to the people. He learned their names and their stories. He held sick children's hands and promised them they would get better. He served food at the shelter. He read books to students in the new classrooms. The newspapers called him a changed man. His business partners could not understand what had happened. But Marcus did not care what they thought. For the first time in his life, he felt like his wealth meant something. For the first time, he felt truly rich. The mansion itself transformed. Elena asked Marcus to host dinners for the people they were helping. Soon, the cold marble halls echoed with the voices of families who had been helped, volunteers who wanted to join their cause, and doctors who offered to give free care at the new clinic Marcus had built. The fortress of loneliness became a center of hope. Maya watched all of this with quiet joy. She saw Marcus and Elena holding hands as they walked through the garden. She heard them laughing together in the evenings. She saw how the other servants smiled more now that kindness had replaced coldness in the house. But one morning, Maya came to Marcus and Elena with tears in her eyes and an envelope in her hands. "I received a telegram," she said quietly. "My mother's operation was successful, praise God. But she needs me now while she recovers. I must go home." Elena's hand flew to her mouth. "Oh no, we'll miss you so much." Marcus stood up. "We'll arrange everything. The best travel, a generous bonus, whatever you need." Maya smiled through her tears. "You've already given me more than enough. You gave my mother her life back. But more than that, you gave me the joy of seeing love return to this house. That's a gift I'll treasure forever." The day Maya left, the entire household gathered at the front door. Even Mr. Graves had tears in his eyes, though he tried to hide them. Elena hugged Maya tightly from her wheelchair. "Thank you for saving my life," Elena whispered. "You were always worth saving," Maya whispered back. "Don't ever forget that." Marcus shook Maya's hand, then pulled her into a hug. "You taught me how to be human again. How to love, how to see what really matters." Maya smiled at him. "You knew all along, Mr. Thornton. You just needed someone to remind you. Keep taking care of each other. Keep helping people. Keep letting your wealth be a blessing, not a wall." As the car drove Maya down the long driveway, Marcus and Elena watched from the front steps, his arm around her shoulders. The mansion rose behind them, no longer cold, no longer empty. It was alive now with purpose and love. 6 months later, Marcus and Elena opened the Maya Santo Center for Compassion. It was a beautiful building where sick people could get free care, where homeless families could find shelter, where struggling students could get tutored and fed. Above the door, a bronze plaque told Maya's story. Not because she wanted fame, but because Marcus and Elena wanted everyone to know that one person's kindness can change the world. Elena's strength continued to grow, with Marcus by her side every day, encouraging her, supporting her, loving her. She worked hard at her physical therapy. The doctors were amazed. One afternoon, with Marcus holding her hands and tears streaming down both their faces, Elena took 3 small steps, then 4, then 5. "I knew you could do it," Marcus said, his voice shaking with joy. "I always knew." "Because you believed in me," Elena said, touching his face. "You came back. You stayed. That's what made me strong enough to try." The mansion on the hill became famous not for its marble or its gold, but for its heart. People told stories about the billionaire who learned that love was worth more than money. They told stories about the wife who found her strength again. And they told stories about the maid who changed everything simply by being kind. And in a small village far away, Maya sat by her mother's bedside, reading a letter from Elena. It told about the center, about Elena's steps, about the hundreds of people being helped. Maya smiled and folded the letter carefully, placing it with all the others in a special box. "What is it?" her mother asked. "Just a reminder," Maya said softly, "that we never know how far our kindness will travel. We just have to offer it and trust that it will grow." The sun set over the village, painting the sky in colors of gold and pink. In the city, the same sunset touched the mansion on the hill, where Marcus and Elena sat in their garden, holding hands, watching the roses bloom. The house that had once been a prison of loneliness had become a home filled with love. And it all began with one person who chose compassion over indifference, presence over absence, and love over everything else. Sometimes angels walk among us in simple clothes and worn shoes. Sometimes miracles happen not with magic, but with kindness. And sometimes the greatest wealth in the world is not what we own, but what we give away. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss stories that inspire and uplift. And remember, no matter where you are or what you have the power to change someone's life with simple kindness, just like Maya did, just like you can do today. Thank you for watching, and may your life be filled with the kind of love that transforms everything it touches.